This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Styles with a save. To the second here. A classic counter-attack, and Gibbs White puts Nottingham Forest 2 ahead. Here's one. 1-0 Forest. Has made an even bigger difference there. Nottingham Forest have snatched the lead at Anfield.
Hello, welcome back to Red Side of Trent, here to discuss Forest comeback draw, not once but twice, coming back to answer Manchester City as they draw for the first time and get an actual result at the City of Manchester Stadium, or the Etihad, whatever you want to call it, the empty had. I don't bloody know, I don't care. But we're all very happy this morning, delighted to be joined by Lee Clark, Christian Brown and Elliot Bauer. Christian, I'll start with yourself. How are you? How are you feeling after last night's result? Because I think myself, very much so, didn't think we'd get anything after Semenyo had opened in the score in particular. I generally thought that. So I'm delighted. I don't know what about you.
Oh yeah, ecstatic, mate. I mean, I thought I agree with you. I thought once City took the lead, I think we all sort of assumed that was game over and wrapped, really. But I think it shows tremendous resilience from the side, to be honest, to go not only to go once behind, but to go twice behind and still find a way to get something out of the game. I know I saw a few people say that I wasn't critical enough after the Brighton game. I genuinely didn't think it was as bad as what we saw in front of us. We should have drawn that game at the very worst. But obviously we didn't. I think aside from the first half against Fenerbahce, performance levels have been at home. The performance levels have been there in all of Vitor's games so far. We just haven't necessarily got what we deserve from it. Like, should have beaten Liverpool, really, the chances we had. Should have put them to bed way before they got a chance to score. Should have got a point against Brighton. Obviously, we did beat Fenerbahce away. Probably should have drawn them at home, really, with the chance to be spurned towards the end. The Hutchinson 1-on-1, the Jesus 1-on-1. So we weren't quite getting rubber green. I said like in our chat, didn't I, on, after the Brighton game, it just feels like, we just aren't getting anything and just being like, there's no rubber green whatsoever. Well, last night we did get something. We did dig in and we did get what our performance justified. We deserved the point last night and we got it. And to do that at this critical stage of the season at both ends of the table with that much, surrounding the game, I think shows a tremendous amount about the squads and what the manager's doing so far. Oh, you're on mute, mate.
I mean, Elliot, what about yourself? I mean, you must be extremely happy because you bang the drum for every game as winnable, or at least to get a result. So going to Man City where we've struggled, I think it was 11-0 on aggregate before last night. So you must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, very delighted. It could have been more, never mind. But hello to everybody. Everything basically Christian just said, and happy World Book Day.
World Book Day. Fair enough, Lee. Last of all, I mean, we're very doom and gloom when it's bad, I feel, but we have to be optimistic in these sort of times. And I think last night, what Christian's saying about resilience and everything and performance levels, I know was maybe a little bit leggy against Brighton, but last night to say we changed things and everything, but it's still largely the same team. I feel like there's fight in our dogs yet.
Yeah, I mean, certainly since Pereira came, I agree with Christian. I've not seen any lack of fight either. I think they have rolled the sleeves up on the back of Dyche going. I just think in our position in the league table where we are, every defeat is made out to be something more negative than it actually is. And I was similar with Christian after Brighton. I certainly didn't see an Everton away performance or a Fulham away performance. It wasn't through. There was nothing. We gave it a go. We changed things. We tried to get back into the game. Whereas in those games that I've just mentioned, our trying something different was trying what we'd been doing for large parts of the game over and over again, and hoping that something stuck. So you only need a little kind of bit of understanding of the game to, be like I say, it's just intensified because we still sat 17th in the league. I mean, the big positive for me last night is that we've got a point and stayed with our heads above water. I mean, how demoralising must it be at this stage? I mean, West Ham fans will rightly be buzzing that they're level on points with us, but look at the form they've produced for the last 7 games since we went 7 points in front of them, and they're still only level on points with us with a game less left to play. And yeah, okay, what they've done last night by winning is drag 2 or 3 other teams back into the mix, which is great for us as well because it means it's not kind of the situation where it's just us or them. But yeah, I think with every week that goes by where they're still not above someone, whether it's us or Tottenham or Leeds, I think that's gonna be hard for them. And I think it's now going to be interesting to see, now they are level on points with City and Villa to play next. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they react to that, because all of a sudden the owners, the fearless, no pressure situation for West Ham has gone now. They've got to get points now to kind of kick on and go further. And I think that's always a different balancing act for a team because it's completely different now. They're in the pressurised situation with us almost. And I know that might sound a weird thing to say, but we've seen it with Wolves in recent weeks. Everyone's saying that. I mean, someone jokingly said to me the other night, "Oh, maybe our point wasn't a bad point against Wolves." Well, it was because they were atrocious at the time. There was none of this. They were kind of already resigned to the fact that they were useless, and it was just about seeing the season out. Whereas now they've got Derby's record, and they're not the worst team in history. They've gone and won 2 games. It's completely different once that pressure's off. Whereas West Ham now, the onus is on them now to go and win games to actually kick up the table. And as we've seen in recent months, that's not necessarily an easy thing to do.
Well, thankfully they'll be playing an angry Manchester City, so well, hopefully, and whilst we're playing Fulham, so it lends itself to be an interesting story arc there in itself. Christian, I'm going to go talk to you about the starting 11 and formation. We made 2 changes from the starting 11 at Brighton, which saw Jai Cunha come in and Nico Dominguez for Amari Hutchinson and Callum Hudson-Odoi. It saw a change in shape with a 5-3-2, as you want to call it, or a 3-4-3. I don't really know. Oh no, 3-5-2 potentially. So, I mean, what did you think of it? Did you think it was the right way to go? I know we discussed this quite heavily in our chat actually, and said it could be a way to go, because I know Vitor Pereira prefers a 3 at the back, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you go to a Man City, for example, it's probably wise to sort of err on the side of caution, I suppose, rather than throwing it to the winds. I was happy to see Jay come in and start. I thought he did quite well when he came on against Brighton. And also, I think that, for his age as well, like, he was in a very similar situation in the Club World Cup, wasn't he, against PSG in a back 3. And obviously, Botafogo won that game with Jesus scoring, funny enough. So I never felt that he wasn't ready or anything like that. Again, if anything, his performances since he's been reintroduced back into the fold have highlighted how mystifying it was that Dyche just wouldn't play him at all or give him any minutes at all, really, unless he absolutely forced to, like in the Wrexham game, for example. Preferred playing Zach Abbott instead of him, which is his own argument, really. But no, I thought it was wise. I thought, again, you have to sort of be a box, really, and just sort of compact as much as you can. I noticed Forest doing it very early as well. There was no space between the lines whatsoever to pass into for City. For a side of City are, I mean, I was saying this to Dad last night, I was watching it, like, they're not like other teams in the way they approach you. It's not slow, but it's not, it's a more patient build up, and they're more precise of what they do. But there is that threat that if you switch off for half a nanosecond, they find a way to punish you, as we saw in the game twice, namely for the first one open play. But he's mostly in front of you. You just have to be so aware and switched on. So I think if you can just get bodies in front of that and just, try and stop them from probing as much as you can, you're probably going to have half a chance. And that's what we did. I thought Dominguez did that really well. It didn't make any sense to have wingers last night, really. He has to be as compact as possible. So, yeah, I thought that Pereira got it spot on last night again. And I wouldn't be surprised to see us stick with that 3 at the back, just maybe a bit more adventurous going forwards. A bit like towards the end of the Brighton game, for example, where it was like 3-4-2-1, for example, rather than basically a 5-4-1 effectively. But it was clearly the right call. And Jer and Dominguez both came in and both did very, very well.
I quite like the formation. I actually think it gave us quite a bit of an impetus on the break as well, and to try and nick the ball as we'll probably discuss. But I mean, Elliot, it was City that took the lead. I mean, we did have a chance before that with a 3-on-2, but I do think it would have been brought back for a foul. But I mean, Ryan Shirky is allowed to run into our box and put a cross in, and Semenyo's got the freedom of Manchester to knock the ball in, and you're kind of a bit like, it's. You think that, and then that's the end of it, because you just think City are going to go on and dominate the game. But did you ever feel like there was still an element of hope when Semenyo scored that goal?
There's always hope, just a false hope, as Gandalf would say. Yeah, we've seen it many times where we've conceded one goal away from home, and we're just like, oh God, it's going to be Charity FC all over again. I also felt that maybe we could have took the lead ourselves in that half. I did feel we were a good value for a point, but yes, Semenyo was an absolute pain for us when he used to play for Bournemouth. So it was just one of those, like, City are always going to potentially get a goal against us. It was just a matter of time, and unfortunately that happened with Semenyo.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Lee, first half kind of petered out. I think City had a flash across goal, but nothing too crazy else happened. But I think something to mention before we talk about Morgan Gibbs-White's, bit of inspirational play, to be honest. But Matt Sells actually makes an unbelievable save from Bernardo Silva at the start of the second half, where I didn't think he got a touch until I saw the replay and the referee gave a corner. But it's some stop, and I know I've been critical of Matt Sells this season, especially commanding his box, but there's no denying his shot stopping ability, although it was to be desired on Sunday against Brighton. But last night I think he came up trumps, to be fair, on more than one occasion as well.
Yeah, probably a bit of rust on Sunday, I suppose. I think the nail on the head was kind of smacked last night in our group chat by a friend of the show, Danny Wetton, who basically said, for a man who shouldn't have started training until Monday, which was 2 days ago, for him to come in the day before he's even supposed to come back from injury and train, and then play again away at Man City, where you're just going to be bombarded with an onslaught. Well, in theory, that's what we would have thought before the game. It didn't quite transpire like that for the keeper. But yeah, I think you've got to cut him some slack. It seems mental to be saying that anyway, because we should be cutting him some slack on the basis that he kept 13 clean sheets or whatever it was last season, got himself a palm on the Golden Glove accolade. So yeah, it was a very good save. I don't necessarily buy this concept that he's not very good anymore. He's not. He is getting on. I know he's not old per se for a goalkeeper, but we know what. And at the end of the day, with Matt Sells, like we've always said since he came to the club, he cost £4 million. For £4 million, he's not going to tick all the boxes for an elite goalkeeper. And the one we know he doesn't tick is the commanding of his area, as I'm sure we'll come on to with City's second goal. But yeah, there's never been any doubt about his shot-stopping ability. And I think one thing I would say about Sells is, he, especially last season, he kind of thrived on the responsibility of being the number one. And clearly this season, he's had proper competition for the last month or so anyway, because Ortega's come in. But not only that, he's struggled a little bit with injuries. So that has kind of, made his progress and his consistency a little bit, off. So yeah, it was a good save. I think he got a little nick on the way as well, so he had to be super alert to it. But yeah, I think it'll be an interesting decision for him to make when Ortega is fit, because I think there's much of a muchness between the two of them, to be honest. I think Ortega instantly got really good when Sells made that mistake, didn't he? Whereas, especially in the Leeds game, there were people saying what we signed him for is useless. So I still sense there's going to be much of a muchness. Again, Ortega is another keeper that we've managed to get on the cheap, albeit from a bigger club than Strasbourg, where Sells came from. So, yeah, certainly a positive headache for Pereira to have.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll stick with yourself about Gibbs-White's goal, because it's actually a really, really good move from ourselves, and clever from Jesus to nod the ball down to him. And then, I mean, I've been moaning for a while that football's getting boring and no one does anything fancy anymore. Morgan Gibbs White step forward and backheel it against arguably one of the best goalkeepers in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pleased you mentioned Jesus' contribution because that's slipped under the radar when people have been analysing it on social media, I've found. And do you know what? For a player who's not always the most instinctive in the penalty area, I actually thought Ines Cross was just going to sail out, or at least I thought he might get something on it, but he wouldn't be able to get any real direction on it or purchase. And yeah, for him to actually put it, on a plate for Gibbs White, albeit it was the best he could do in that situation, is what I'm saying. And I think he did really well to kind of get himself into a position and show the awareness to head it across and not do something stupid like head it straight at goal. So, yeah, brilliant finish. I mean, yeah, that's what he's capable of. I mean, interestingly, no one's moaning about his fancy flicks now, are they? I suppose. I think it's like we've always said, the fancy flicks. That's what Morgan Gibbs White comes with. That's part of his makeup. You're not gonna shake that out of Morgan Gibbs White and you take the brilliance of Morgan Gibbs White out of the equation. So it's almost like Sean Dyche going into a club and not making them run up hills and do the nuts and bolts. It just doesn't. It's not going to happen. That's his makeup. That's what he does. So yeah, it was nice to see something come off. Obviously, as we've said all season, Gibbs White has got this reputation for being our main man, and certainly in the first half of the season, he didn't always show that. But I think since the very beginning, when Dyche came in, the one player who has stepped up and kicked on tenfold is Gibbs White. And yeah, I mean, the thing I like about him, every time he scores, it just means a lot to him. You can just tell. And I felt really sorry for him on Sunday because he obviously did the celebration. We got back into the game, and then 40 seconds later, the calamity defending kind of ruined his moment and made him look a little bit silly. At least it wasn't 40 seconds this time. But yeah, he's just going to be so important for us between now and the end of the season, isn't he? I mean, if anything happens to him, God forbid, then I don't know who else is going to step up, because the one player that has stepped up in recent weeks has been him. So yeah, just really happy for him, I guess.
Yeah, best scoring season he's had in the Premier League. And then I think, did he surpass Collymore on Sunday, or has he surpassed Collymore now?
Now he has. He was level with Ryan Roy, I think. He's already surpassed Collymore, I think.
Oh, he's already surpassed.
He was level with Roy, I think, after Sunday.
Chasing down Chris Wood at this rate. Christian, I mean, Rodri's score from a set piece not too long after, where you feel like you've blown the balloon back up, and then immediately it's been popped, and you just kind of figure like, what the heck are we doing? I mean, Sells is wrestling with Haaland rather than looking at the ball, and it's just a free run. And I hate zonal marking. I've always hated it. I never understood it. I don't understand the advantages of it at all, because I just feel like attackers always get a run. Like that's like the biggest, just the biggest flaw in it as ever. I just feel like it's stupid, but managers keep persisting with it, and we keep getting punished by it. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, like, I'm just very loosely sticking on the Gibbs White thing. The last two games, he's sort of given me like Letizia at Southampton vibes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Before like the tin hat debacle, in that Saints always look like they go down, they always look like they struggle, but Letizia would find a way and they somehow survive. And then I don't think it's no surprise really that the year he retired, they went down straight the year after pretty much. So. It kind of has that factor again. I think like not enough. I don't know. We probably will go into Gibbs White's performance later. I just want to say it now. Like someone I've said before on this podcast a few times actually. Some of the things I said about him in the summer and during the course of the season, and I'm aware that he started quite well in the Dyche as well, but obviously he started very well in the Prayer as well. But he does look a lot freer on the Prayer. You saw it a bit more last night as well. Like the only game I can remember Gibbs White doing what we have all known he can do, get the ball in the centre of the pitch and like ping passes up for the striker. The only time I saw him do that in the Dyche was against Palace in that first half for Jesus prior to the red cards. He was doing it last night as well. Like, he was just getting the ball and just pinging it forward. There was one gorgeous outside the ball pass, which I think Jesus just couldn't quite get on the end of. I think, Gay, he might be just got there just ahead. But, it's so good to see him doing that again. And yeah, he is our talisman. He is our, like Danny said in the pods fairly recently, I think that we need one player in that front attacking unit to get 5 to 6 goals. Well, Gibbs White's already got 2. So, he's given us as much chance as he possibly can do to help us survive. And yeah, so much. This is for a player that allegedly doesn't care and has his head in Tottenham and this, that, and the other, and all the other bollocks we have to hear on the side of it. Like, show the man some respect, honestly. But going back to the incident, yeah, it was just like, I think the balloon comparison is very accurate because it just felt like popped straight away afterwards. I mean, it was so silly for a set piece as well. Like, it kind of reminded me of when we lost 2-0 to City. In the season, Nuno came in for half a year, and we started off very, very well, couldn't score, and they scored from a corner. It was like, well, that's pretty much game, isn't it? But I mean, the sales thing with Haaland, I mean, that's going to happen from every corner now, unless PGM are well clamped down on Arsenal's rugby tactics from corners. That's going to happen every single time. So I don't have issue with that. What I do have issue with is what you touched upon. How is Rodri, somebody who's like, 6'3", 6'4", probably, had a free run into the box and got a free header on goal? That's the issue. Why has no one seen that? Why has no one stopped that? I know obviously they tried banning it, sort of keep it off the line and whatever else. It's sort of, he should never have won that header to begin with. If you win that header, that's it. Like, what Haaland does is irrelevant. So, yes, to concede a goal in such pitiful fashion, I think, bear in mind, we made City work for it. Yes, we momentarily switched off. There's a little lapse to leave Semenyo unmarked, and obviously he punished us for that. But they still had, it was still a well-worked goal, you'd say, from a City perspective. What's well-worked about swinging a ball into the box and winning the first challenge, first contact? That's poor. That's really, really poor. And, I think I've seen now we've conceded 14 goals from set pieces this season now, which is ludicrously bad, especially when you consider that I think we've conceded same amount as Liverpool in all competition in the league. So, when you consider that 40 of those have been set, so we've conceded 43 goals. It's gone up a bit now. Same as Fulham. And 14 of those from corners or set pieces. That's really bad. And, to give City an in like that after making them work so hard and working even harder to get back into the game ourselves, we let ourselves down there. That's probably the only time in the game I thought, that's poor from Forest.
It's like the first few seasons all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Elliot, I wanted to ask you about Haaland's the penalty shout for Haaland, because there is contact, but there's not enough from. I feel like Matt Sells does pull his arms away just in time. City feel real hard done by. For me, I mean, I feel like it's a bit of justice for the reverse game when Ruben Dias should have got sent off. Do you think Haaland should get booked for simulation there, or do you think the referee makes quite a good decision in terms of there's contact but not enough for a penalty per se?
Well, I was happy the referee just waited a while just for like VAR to check it. Whether he should have got a yellow, that's really that's always going to be debatable. These sorts of penalties, you actually have seen them given, and at the same time, you haven't seen them given. Like, for example, the Newcastle game in our Premier League second season when Taiwo went over, that is a definite penalty. Whereas Haaland's one, it felt like he kept his leg just stuck out a bit. So if I was a neutral, which a lot of neutrals are doing, as I've seen on Twitter, I kind of agree with them all and say it's not a penalty, but at the end of the day, we have actually seen them given as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to stick with yourself, Elliot, as well, because your namesake did score the equaliser, and it was an absolutely terrific goal. And we've been screaming out for someone just to do this, and especially if someone of Elliot Anderson's quality, because he's got it in his locker. But it's a sublime goal to equalise, and you just think, can he do this a few more times before the end of the season? Because one, it'd be lovely to watch it all the time, but also two, it'd really, really help with our scenario here.
Yeah, Elliot Anderson, as we all know, he's the complete midfielder, and it was just so nice to see him finally get another goal like that, because he has actually got it in his locker, and I think he's also aware that everybody is going to need to start chipping in if we're going to survive for goals. I'm including Callum in that, but I'm also including the likes of Sangare and maybe even Igor. Like, these players, they really, really do need to start chipping in. So, I'm very, very pleased Anderson got his goal there.
Yeah, definitely. Lee, I mean, we had a chance to win it. Yatesy from a corner. I mean, he's come onto it superbly well. Just the direction, just past the post. And I mean, out of 8, every single piece of humble pie thrown my way if Yates had planted that in the top corner. Personally,
If Yates had planted that in the top corner, the village of Clipston would have seen a grown man running around with swinging his hoodie around his head. I think because I actually thought it was in. I thought it was. I genuinely thought it had gone in. But yeah, I mean, you can't give him too much slack. Got to cut him a little bit of slack for that, I guess. I mean, it all happened kind of so fast. I think probably Yatesy was more shocked than anyone that we'd managed to put a corner in that was actually of any use.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but what I would say is, it's the same as when you say about when if a team's not creating chances, then you're worried. If at least we've carved out a chance from a set piece, that's got to be seen as another positive step in the right direction since Pereira came in, because we looked absolutely hopeless at them. And if a team like City are switching off to us and giving us chances like that, then against other teams, obviously we've got to work at getting those situations on target. I think it was. I don't really know why he missed it. I don't think he probably wasn't at a great angle. He probably thought he was more central to the post than he actually was. I don't know. I mean, like I say, I'll cut him some slack for it because it seemed to happen so fast. But again, it's got to be seen as another positive from a very positive night anyway, that we've created a chance from a set piece. So hopefully before the end of the season, we can start taking 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Christian, the last thing on the game in terms of like looking at it, I mean, Murillo's come to our rescue again, and I've heard murmurs of people saying he don't look interested. I mean, the amount of times he's done this since he's been at the football club, where he's just shown his instinctive nature to get back on the line, see danger, and then just hoof it away. I mean, last kick of the game, and he's basically won us a point. I know everyone else has got a factor in there, but it's sublime defending, personally.
It's sublime defending, but it's also atrocious timekeeping / officiating. I mean,
yeah, it was bad.
That's in like the 99th minute of what 7 added on. I know they'll say, it's a minimum of 7. Like, have a day off. He was playing till City was going to score. That was his aim, and like we could all see it. And like, it was just. I found the officiating yesterday very odd. I actually thought for the big calls, the penalties. Again, to be honest, I'm surprised Haaland stayed on the pitch, because we missed one in the first half that the AI looked at, saw he dives, and then said nothing. No yellow card for simulation. The one that obviously gave to Elliot, he's literally changed his direction to kick cells and go down afterwards and dive. That's blatant simulation. Should have been booked for that. So you could argue Haaland should have been sent off had there been a stronger referee. I mean, you could also argue that a weak referee like an Atwell or Rob Jones probably gives all 3 penalties. Who knows? Obviously, there was one on Rodri and Anderson as well, where they both kick each other, which again is 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But other than that, some decisions were so odd. Like Murillo being booked for nothing, pretty much. Sangare getting a very harsh yellow card again for very little, a late challenge, and then just play until the end. Like 7 minutes go up. He's like, "Nah, I'll keep playing. No, I'll keep playing. No, I'll keep playing." And I had a look at the FOTMob just now, and 0.68 xG to be all Brentford came in that 99th minute. So, which obviously massively inflates City's numbers as well. But the game should have been done by now. He should have blown his whistle by that point, which is laughable. And but going to the point, Murillo again. You're right. I mean, it gave like you look at your Man United game last season at home where he did it up the line there. He has got previous form for this, and he just reads the game so well. But what I will say before that is Morasso gets a very vital block in as well to sort of make it sort of fun, but point in that direction. Again, I think there's 3 players there, Sells, Morasso, and then Murillo in the end, ultimately, who just managed to jab it out and stop it going through. But yeah, goodness me, that how big that block will be is massive. I mean, had we lost in that fashion, I think, I'd have stormed PGMOL myself, I reckon. I would have gone like on a one-man crusade. Like that would have been beyond robbery. But no, I mean, what can you say? Again, you're right. Some of the things we said, we heard on Sunday, Murillo's not interested, he's not bothered, he's not this, he's not that, he's looking for a move out. He saw his agent after the Brentford game, he wants to go out. Day off. Like, yeah, he's probably going to go at the end of the season, or will be a good chance of going at the end of the season, but have a day off. At what point have you ever seen Murillo down tools and not play? He hasn't. Even when he's clearly hated the manager, like the last one, he hasn't down tools. He still tried. He still gave his all for the football club.
Yeah,
We saw it again last night. That block that could be the difference between us going down and staying up. It really could. It really could be that important. So yeah, I mean, every respect to him whatsoever. I love the man to bits. A superb footballer, and he's bailed us out massively there.
yeah, absolutely.
It's lazy narrative after lazy narrative this season, though, isn't it? Like I said earlier, every little bad thing that anyone does is intensified as, they don't care, or there's no fight, or this, that, and the other. I think people are determined to make out the club stinking from top to bottom. And do you know what? Over the last 8 or 9 months, there is an element of that. But not every performance needs to focus on that. The player, I firmly believe that the players don't really, they're bothered about playing football. And the fact we've had 4 managers is the most chaotic thing in the mind of the players for me. What happens with the club and what players we're buying and who's coming in and who's not coming in, I genuinely don't think that sort of thing bothers them as such. Just to touch on the VAR thing as well, I think the issue I've got with the time is the fact that I think one of the penalty checks, it might have been the Rodri and Anderson one, happened just after it ticked over 90. Well, to me, fans should have visibility of how long it's taking to check so that they know what's going to be added onto the end of the added.
Yeah.
Because at the minute, the commentator said it quite rightly, it gets to 7 minutes on the TV and you think, right, well, how long's left now then? Like you say, Christian, last night it felt like they were playing until City scored. And I'm sure that wasn't the case because they were checking something on VAR. But let us know that it took 1.5 minutes to check that. Let us know it took 2 minutes so that we know, right, okay. Because at the end of the day, if a team knows that, and yeah, okay, there's loads of analysis happening down near the bench, the teams probably will kind of figure it out themselves. But we might have been able to throw another sub on. If we know there's an extra 2 minutes, I'm not sure if we had any subs left last night, but just theoretically speaking, you might think, I'll put another centre half on there because we've got 3 minutes to ride out still. Yeah, because what if it had been one of them checks where they check and check and check, and it's really one of them 5-minute jobs? They could have played 10 for all we knew because, it took a bit longer. I think they've got to start showing you how long it's actually taking to check something. They'll never do that because everyone's already moaning that it takes too long anyway. So why would they throw that into the equation?
Do you want the big screens, Lee? Do you want them to put like plus, say, just for example, plus 5 minutes,
like
and then plus 3 after it?
Well, I don't see why they can't. When you see the purple background come up on the screen and it says VAR check, why can't a little timer start, especially if it's in injury time? Because
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Teams are gonna. It happened with the Liverpool game, didn't it? That they scored the first goal. I think it just ticked over to 90 or something, and then all of a sudden, I think 6 went on the board. They scored in 7. Did it get checked for a minute, the first one? Possibly. But if fans knew that, it'd be easier to stomach if they do concede in that period of time.
Yeah.
Can I just say as well? Sorry to interrupt as well. What I've seen a lot of conjecture about, how we can't play 2 games a week or whatever else. Well, we've played 3 in a week this week. The difference between playing tonight and playing on Sunday is no different to a Thursday, Sunday. Those players didn't look knackered at all. They were still, obviously they were at the ends, yeah. But after, any team's going to look knackered after playing Manchester City because of how they keep the ball and how mentally switched on you have to be. But physically, they're there until the very end. And, I've seen this week as well, Vitor said that he came out and said, look, we're not training. We might have 1 training session. We'll do a lot of tactical work and we'll have a player standing in positions where I want them to be so they can see what I want them to do. But we won't have them running or anything like that. And is it any surprise they looked fitter going in the latter stages of that match? It's almost like having gaffer stay and having numerous bleep tests and letting them do doggies left, right, and centre and running around Wallace and Hall is quite detrimental to players' fitness. Who would have possibly have thought that in this modern day and age of sports science and anything else other than being told to man up and eat gravel? Who would have possibly have thought that as a possible outcome?
Yeah, I mean, these players who want to play in European football know they've got to play 2 games a week. It's just how you manage them, like you say, Christian, and they're obviously getting that now, and hopefully we'll reap the rewards in the last 9 or so games. Obviously, we've got Europa League as well to contend with, but we're going to just give a shout out to our sponsors. So first of all, Vesta Blinds, do check them out. I have not prepared myself in any way, shape or form to read out the thing, but I will do right now. So stylish, high quality, made to measure blinds and shutters at a great price. Give your home the perfect finishing touch with stunning, expertly fitted window coverings from Vesta Blinds. So please do check them out. And then Trent Side Threads. Do check them out. Use RSOT for 10% off. That's RSOT with 2 T's. TrentSideThreads.co.uk. You can get yourselves a Murillo shirt after that heroic goal line clearance, or 16 goal contributions from Igor Jesus now in all competitions. I said he'd get 15 or so and become a cult hero. He kind of is, although we need him to score more goals in the Premier League, so that would be very nice. I'm wearing an Ola Ryan t-shirt, drinking some Ribena. But I'm going to get into everyone's slept on it thoughts.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
So, regular Alex, who comes on the pod every now and then, literally slept on it for once, not getting too carried away just yet, but that was a real cause to be optimistic about our remaining games. Lads and Vitor now have 9 days before our next Premier League fixture. However, we've seen this season that these lads can get themselves up for a big 5 team, but struggles to show anything against the lesser teams. Vamos. Josh Potts, first signs in weeks that we have some fighting as Morgan Gibbs' white goal should be hung in the Louvre. Shame that West Ham won, but thankfully we're still aren't in the bottom 3. D Warden, every player gave it their all. 5 at the back worked and we were clinical when needed. Cunha superb, Morgan's white and Anderson world class. Capanosity in function. After Philip Larkin, they F you up, your football club. They may not mean to, but they do. They were full of faults at the Etihad, but tales will be long told if we stay up because of this 2-2, and I agree with that. Mark Baker, couldn't ask for more from them. They battled and showed the fight we need. Play the rest of the season with that fight and we stay up. Early negative was another twat of a ref. Martin Fretwell been wondering where the fighting spirit had gone, but arrived in abundance tonight. Cracking display and fully deserved. Gareth, the confidence boost from that will be huge. Show that level of character in the effort in the last 9 games. Will be staying up. Tom Newton, mentally an absolute shot in the arm when we needed it. Every player stood up to the challenge. No one gave us any hope in doing anything. Seismic to come back twice. Loads of positives, and the player got a much needed break. Proud tonight. I couldn't agree more with that. Thank you very much for everyone that got in touch with us on Slept on It Thoughts. Going to get into some player performances, and I'll start with yourself, Mr. Elliot Bauer. I'm going to give you Morgan Gibbs White.
What can I say about the guy that Christian and Lee have already said enough of? I had to admit, I had my doubters in December when we weren't playing as well. That there was the odd flick and the odd pass that didn't seem to work. But now I feel like he's really kicked on now, and I'm dead proud of him for the things he's been doing with our club. Like he's been patting the badge when he's winning. The interviews are absolutely fantastic. Morgan Gibbs White is an elite player. This is his team, and in fact, I would actually make him like captain throughout the rest of the season now. He is our talisman. He's the man. I'm dead proud of him for getting his goal. I'm also always proud of him for getting the assists he does. Just what can I say about him? He's going to be sorely missed when he unfortunately has to leave the club.
Just a quick question to you, Elliot. Do you think if we do stay up, do you think he departs or do you think he stays?
Well, there is that debate whether 3 of our talisman in Murillo, Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs White does go. But I don't think Mr. Marinakis thinks that way. I think because Morgan is under a 3, maybe 4-year contract, he's going to try and convince one of those players to actually stay with us. And it may as well be Morgan because it's his team. We can push on. If we actually do win the Europa League, like Champions League would be absolutely lovely. So it would. I'd want him to stay. But in this day and age, these days, it's up to the player and their agents.
Yeah, fair. Lee, I'm going to give you Elliot Anderson. I thought the goal in itself was brilliant, but I actually thought I thought him and the midfield were excellent yesterday. I thought they really put in a shift.
Yeah, just before I talk about Elliot Anderson, all I was going to say on Gibbs White is I could see him stay if we stayed up. However, I think it will all depend on which sort of bracket of club wants to sign him. I think if a City or United want him, I think they'd happily part with 70, 80 million that we'd want. The clubs that are being linked to him so far, Villa, they've got to have a big sale to even meet PSR, so forget that. And Tottenham, why on earth would he see Tottenham as an upgrade when they're not going to be in Europe next year? So, and I know before someone comes at me saying, "Oh, we're not going to be in Europe next year, probably." Well, we're probably not, but he's the big fish at us, and I think he values that. I think he needs that for his own kind of performance levels. So at the minute, with the clubs that are being linked with him, I could see him staying quite easily if we stayed up, to be fair, especially if we sell Anderson, which brings me on nicely to his performance last night. Yeah, back to his best, I thought. I think, again, much like Gibbs White, a lot's been made over how he's had his head turned and doesn't really care that much, and he's already going and he's been talking to his agent. Shocker, footballer talks to his agent. How dare he? Yeah, I thought it was back to his best. I think he's another one who, much like I always said about Joe Lolly when we're in the Championship, I genuinely think it hurts him when we don't win games of football. I think he appreciates the opportunity he's been given at Forest. Obviously not an easy move for him, leaving his boyhood club in Newcastle, but what a player he's become with us in, 18 months. Destined to go to the World Cup. Probably a little bit annoying that he's performed like that in front of Pep Guardiola with all the number one signing. But do you know what? Maybe it's a good thing because maybe we can turn around and say, well, do you know what? It's definitely 100 million now with how he's played in front of you. So if that was an audition for his City move, then he's definitely going through to judges' houses, isn't he? At the very least. So yeah, I thought it was very good. Nice to see him score as well. Thought he used Mark Gahey very well as a blocker for the goalkeeper. But yeah, he's just a terrier, isn't he? You can see why he works so well alongside Declan Rice in the England midfield. They just complement each other very nicely. And yeah, we need that Elliot Anderson for the rest of the season now. It's going to be difficult if we've got to keep playing him in Europe as well. But do you know what? Not to sound too much like Sean Dyche, but at his age, he'll want to play every game. He won't want to get rested. He'll feel the fatigue and he'll feel tired, but he'll want to play every single game while we're chasing the Europa League and staying up in the Premier League. So, yeah, a very positive performance. And I don't think it should be forgotten who he was up against last night as well in that City midfield. I think he does seem a player for the big occasion when it comes to not being phased by getting stuck in and do it. I'm going to sound like Dyche, doing the hard yards, I was going to say then, without even thinking about Dyche. So,
Always
yeah,
on the mind.
I do love that sort of side of him. He effortlessly wins the ball back. I've not seen a Forest midfielder ever, I don't think, easily win the ball back like he does. Yeah, just a really excellent performance. I think he was, without looking, I don't know, but I think he was my highest rated player in my player ratings afterwards. So yeah, probably our best player, I thought.
Fair. Christian, I'm going to give you Jacques Cunha, thought was excellent in that back three, and is, I think, starting to turn a few heads now, and I think could quickly become a very important player towards the end of the season now.
Yeah, completely unfazed with what's in front of him. Just went out, did a job, and moved on. Like it was nothing. That could have been, a day at the park, could have been a day at training, could have been anything. He didn't show any sort of fear or anything whatsoever. He just went out and did it, and I have to respect him for that as well. It's an incredible mentality to have, especially after what's been a very challenging season for him. I mean, you look at again, I think I saw that he believed he'd be signing a rotational sort of void. A rotational role, when he first signed. Obviously, that never really happened under Dyche, which looks laughable. Every performance he plays like this just makes it look incredibly laughable how he was overlooked. Much like Jake O'Brien at Everton, how he came in and immediately slotted in and looked very right at home, and all the Everton fans were asking, why wasn't this guy playing? What do you mean he wasn't ready? Exactly the same with Cunha. The bloke's 6'5". Like, he wins pretty much every header, but he's good with his feet as well. He's calm, he's composed. He doesn't look like, at no point do I feel like, he looks like he's got a bomb at his feet. He's going to shank it straight out. He was always very, very calm with it. Yeah, he did very well. I thought that, they quickly realised, City, that they couldn't swing it into Haaland for a header because they had him and Milenkovic there, and he wasn't going to win any headers. So that's what they had to try to play around, and that's what makes the Semenyo goal even more frustrating because someone should have really picked him up, and again, leaving 3 men unmarked. But no, very, very good. I think you're right. I think he will have a very important part to play. I think it's firmly established now that he is definitely third choice centre half, as he should have been before a ball was even kicked this season, which is what we all said. But he definitely is now. He's now a starting centre back, let alone third choice. So in his current system, and yeah, obviously, you have to remember he is only 21 or whatever it is. There will be mistakes there, just out of inexperience and greenness, but he looks mature beyond his years. Cunha, he looks a really, really good signing. I think it must be like a Brazilian thing that if you're called Cunha, you're just automatically good at football. But yeah, no, very, very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, do you then think that we'll stick with this formation then? Do you think that's what Vitor Pereira will kind of continue with, or do you think he'll pick and choose when he goes with that formation, that system?
I think he'll be pick and choose. I think he did say, didn't he, after the Brighton game, he said that he wanted 2 systems he could rely on and sort of alternate between if he had to. So yeah, I imagine that he'll probably pick and choose as and when, but that's not a bad thing either. So again, you keep teams guessing. You play to your strengths. You play your opponent, don't you? If your opponent's going to be weaker against a 3 at the back, you go 3 at the back. If your opponent's going to be weaker against a 4-2-3-1, you obviously go for that. We've always had that flexibility there, and I think that's what's so frustrating because, like Lee alluded to earlier, there was no plan B under the last manager or the manager before that for what it was worth. This is who we are, mate. Just throw everyone forwards and then concede. Whereas with Deitch, it was just swat it long, smash balls into the mixer and hope for the best. There was nothing else. That was all it was. Whereas at least with Vitor, you've got someone who's recognised the squads and gone, look, we've got flexibility here. We can do this. We can do that. We can play to these strengths. We can do this. And I think what's frustrating is that should have been there from the get-go. That really should have been there from the start. We shouldn't have to be this one predictable side. But yeah, I mean, thankfully, it seems that that's at least been addressed now because, yeah, the more you keep teams guessing, the better. So yeah, I think it'll be as and when.
In fun podcast fashion, I just need to excuse myself. So Christian, I will let you take over for one moment.
No worries whatsoever.
I feel like this is like when Yatesy gets tossed the armband. This,
yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but
yeah, Adam's gone. Let's take our trousers off.
Have we done Slept on It thoughts yet?
Yeah, they've been done.
I feel like we have, haven't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
shall we segue into a Nico Dominguez love it? Because I thought he was really good last night.
Actually, you're right. He was quality last night.
I think what I like about him is I think we always talk about players who, especially we've spoke about the fringe players an awful lot this season, haven't we? Lots of people like to kind of bash them and say they're not ready. But the one thing about Dominguez is he always seems to, no matter what period of inactivity he has, he always seems ready to come on and play at his peak. He doesn't really seem to need much settling in process, I always find. But I think that's a massive kind of string to his bow.
I'm going to also add he's playing in his natural position as a midfielder in this formation. Like, I think he's wasted on the wings. Hi Ed, and welcome back, by the way. He's just as good a midfielder as Sangare's and your Andersons. We saw like in the December period of 2024, like him and Anderson made such a great partnership in midfield that we just kept on winning games. So I'm dead proud of our dummy.
I'm really hopeful he gets back into the Argentina squad, to be honest. I think he really deserves that. Obviously, he was called back in Monday for the summer, but then obviously got injured in that Chelsea game and was out for 4 months, which is really cruel. But honestly, I think that if you're the Argentina manager, you're probably looking at these March internationals and thinking, yeah, you know what, you played well consistently since you come in, despite all the upheaval and whatever else. Welcome back into the fold, because he does that. Versatility will be desirable to a manager going into a tournament. If he has to come on the wing, so be it. Not that Argentina should be in a position where they have to defend anyway, but obviously if they were, let's say they had France, for example, in the semi-finals or whatever else, and you need to try and mitigate Dembele or something like that. If you're throwing Dominguez against him, it's not going to make life easy for him at all. So yeah, I really hope he gets his flowers and gets back into the World Cup squad or into the internationals anyway, because brilliant football and showed it again last night.
I think his engine and his professionalism just makes him tailor-made for tournament football as well. I think he just doesn't need like I say, there's no drop off with him. He's just always a consistent, much like Nico Williams has been in his position. He's just a consistent 7 out of 10 every single game, no matter where he plays, no matter what role he's asked to do. Just one of the shining lights of our season, I guess, given how poor it's been so far.
I mean, Lee, do you think against Midtjylland we go fairly strong next week, which is that our next game at home? I mean, there's a onus to go and maybe try and finish the tie within the first leg. So when we go to Denmark, we go and kind of just set up to be awkward, or do you think we rotate because we've got a bigger game on the Sunday against Fulham?
$1 million question, isn't it? Because I think that Fulham game is now massive. But yeah, I still think we'll go relatively strong because, again, there is still a question mark over some of the fringe players. I'm not going to, as much as I've tried to defend the whole situation as much as I can, there is no doubting that some of them kind of probably aren't going to be ready for this season now, and we're looking towards the future. But yeah, I think a home game, I think on the basis that, fans have still had to buy another ticket, I think Pereira will take that into consideration. I'm not sure about this whole get the game won, because I think it's going to be, I'd be very surprised if Midtjylland played the same way in a first leg of a knockout game as they did against us in the group stage. They'll of course feel that there's weaknesses that we've got that they can exploit, especially considering they scored from 2 set pieces against us last time. But I think there'll also be recognition that we are a different team now, with a different manager in a different moment. So yeah, I'd still like to see us go relatively strong. Like I just said, I wouldn't be averse to maybe resting Anderson or Sangare and playing Dominguez. I wouldn't be averse to leaving, if he was going 4-2-3-1, I wouldn't be averse to leaving Milenkovic or Murillo out to give Kuna more minutes. At the same time, I wouldn't mind if he used it as a bit of an experimental game to get the 3 at the back system going. So again, I think he'll want to be competitive in it, but I think he will definitely view the Fulham game as being, he'll want those 11 players that played last night on the pitch, I would imagine, against Fulham. He might go with wingers, but I'm not entirely sure he will,
Yeah, I mean, Christian, any thoughts on that?
It's going to be interesting, isn't it? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see Dan Ndoye play wing back against Midtjylland if he does stick with this formation. Just because I think that, we're somewhat limited, aren't we? Savona's likely out for the season, so we can't really rest Aina. Nets isn't in the Europa League squad because he hadn't done the hard yards and nuts and bolts against Nuneaton Borough, so he's not in the Europa League squads. So we have no fullback cover. So you're going to have to improvise and make things. We've seen that Murillo at left back doesn't work. We saw that against Fenerbahce in the first half. It's not really his sort of game. You get away with it against poor opposition, like against Malmo, for example, but it's not going to work against better sides or more organised sides, which I'd like Midtjylland are going to be. So, maybe Ndoye could be a shout at wing back. I mean, obviously he plays there for Switzerland. He might actually have a bit more time with the ball out there as well. So we might get to see a bit more about what she can actually do with football. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who he plays there. I mean, obviously, if you wanted to go ultra offensive, you could have Bakra on one wing back and Ndoye in the other. And that way you rest both of them, Williams and Aina. But whether he goes that experimental is another matter. I think it'll be a blend. I think it'll be a bit of a mixture. You might have for every one change, like Ndoye or McAtee, for example, you probably will get Anderson or Milenkovic as well. But yeah, it'll be interesting. To be honest, I'll be interested who plays up front, I think, because I don't know if is Luca injured. Obviously, he wasn't a bench again yesterday. Big T came on, but again, T's not in the Europa League squad. So do you give Jesus a rest? Do you play Luca, who, as we've seen, hasn't really pulled up any trees yet? Yeah, he's got a lot to think about, but this is what he's paid for, I suppose. It will be interesting to see that team selection come in at what is 6:30 on or quarter to 7 on the Thursday, to be honest.
Lee, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe a little plot twist. Could he play Jesus against Midtjylland and play a 1 year against?
Yeah,
man up. Could he give Fulham just something a bit different to think about? Maybe. because they'll obviously prepare for Jesus. Again, I'm not. That's a bit. There's a bit of devil's advocate there. I'm not saying that's necessarily what I would do, but if he is worried about Jesus breaking down, I wonder if he might. I don't know. It's just disappointing that Awoniyi's not in the Europa League squad. To be honest, if it's this is where I think Reece is right with what he says. Like the whole recruitment stuff in January was just a mess because we knew we were planning on sacking Dyche. What did we go and sign Luca for? He's clearly not fancying now, is he? So yeah, but we don't need to go down that rabbit hole again. It is what it is now, and we've just got to make do with it. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he went with Jesus because he's doing well in Europe, and then chuck Big T up there for the Fulham game.
Yeah, I mean, Elliot, how would you like us to approach that game? Next week.
Yeah, with your Midtjyllands, look, I get it. Europa League, yeah, we haven't had this in ages, and also the fact that it might not come for a little while now. But our bread and butter should really be the Premier League. I'm really more concerned about the Fulham game due to our history with them. We've only won once since promotion and lost 7, and I'm including the pre-season one in that as well. This should be enough in our squad to actually take the game to Midtjylland comfortably, but we've seen like over the past few games that, like, can they be trusted? Well, now is your time to step up, Morato, McAtee, etc. You guys have really got to start putting a shift in, not only just to help us with Europa League, but just fight for your place. You are very much wanted here, but for me, I would. Like, survival is like the utmost importance now. Like, if we don't win the Europa League, I'd be okay with that, but I just really want to stay in this league.
Yeah, we don't want to be changing name to EFL, Elliot, do you? So,
God, no. I
feel like that we've ended it on a bit of a good point there. And before we get into Elliot's fact of the day, is anyone else want to say anything about the game or next week at all?
Just on Midtjylland as well, I think the non-negotiable against them, as we saw in the first game, he's working as hard as them. I think we saw in periods in that first game that when we did up our game and work just equally as hard as them, it didn't even need to be that hard. It was just, as long as we don't slip into that kind of Fenerbahce second leg mindset, I think we'll be fine, because we have, and this is, I don't mean this to sound arrogant towards Midtjylland. They finished in the top 8 for a reason, but they're not that good. They play in Denmark. They're not that good. That's factual. In comparison to a Premier League team, most Premier League team in the current top half should fancy beating Midtjylland over two legs. So I think as long as we have the non-negotiable of working equally as hard as them, I do think that we will be in a situation where we can not rest players, but at least take some off with maybe either at half time or with, half an hour to go. But yeah, I thoroughly expect, now I've said that, to be going viral next week when they're 3-0 at half time or something. We'll see how we go.
Hopefully not. I mean, for me, I get the whole thing of like wanting to survive and stuff, but I'm just like, we're in a competition that we can win. I mean, people might not think that, but I do think we can win it. So I'm like, well, why would you not want to try and win it and still do both? Because I feel like Vitor Pereira is clever enough to realise that the players don't need to train every day like what previous regimes were doing. So they can play 2 games a week, and if they want to be playing European football for bigger and better clubs, they're going to be playing midweek and weekend anyway. So they're going to have to get used to that anyway. So they may as well do that with us. So if we can survive and win the bloody thing, I mean, I'm all the way for it. I don't believe in fobbing anything off that you can go and win. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But here we are. Elliot, yes. Please proceed with your facts or story of the day, because that's what the people have really come for. They're not really come for the football, to be honest.
Oh, come on, they've come for you three. I've just got to try and be as enlightening as possible, but like I'm not as a football genius as you lot are. Yeah. So today I've got a fact within a game within a fact. So this is about a lady known as the Asparamancer. What she does is she throws asparagus into the air, and looks and interprets patterns and then predicts things. So she goes on all these like morning shows like This Morning and Jeremy Vine, etc. And I watched her do her 2026 predictions. I'm going to ask you in a minute what she predicted about sport, but just to show you what kind of level she's on, she said politics this year will be carnage.
I mean, that's carnage. It's every year, that, isn't it?
That's just general.
That's a safe prediction, yeah.
That's just general news, but yeah, she's also predicted two things about sport. Now, what I want to ask all you three is just to give me a suggestion, and basically the nearest ones get a point. So who would like to start for what she predicted about sport?
I mean, going from what you've just said, my prediction is it will happen. Sport will happen. That's what she probably said.
Right.
It will just happen. It will take place, and that's what she predicted.
I'll go a bit more specific. I'll say England to win the World Cup.
Okay, Lee.
I think she went from the sublime to the ridiculous and said that Tottenham were going to win the Premier League.
No, she's not that predictor. The point goes to Christian because one of these things is sort of right. She said UK football will have a tremendous World Cup. Now that's UK football, as you know. Scotland,
yeah.
I mean, Scotland
yeah, Wales and Northern Ireland could potentially qualify, so that's one of them. Christian, you'd love this one. Okay, Adam, I'm going to give you a little thing, but she also said some very well-known former sportsmen will fall out of favour with the British public, but others will go from strength to strength in new careers.
Interesting.
So I actually thought Christian would say something about Sean Dyche at this point. But I'm sort of predicting maybe like Andy Murray would go on the Traitors or something with his mum or something along those lines.
What a duo.
Yeah. So I'm also going to ask you all what. Like, you're never going to get this in a million years, but like the nearest wins. But what's a 15th prediction?
What, just in general? 15th?
Just in general, yeah.
The potholes might get filled.
Okay.
Because they have been abysmal. Honestly, I've never spoke about potholes more in my life to anyone.
Honestly, take it from me, somebody who works in local government, it is not good. It's really not fun.
So the potholes might get filled. That's my prediction.
You know what, Adam? Just to save time, I'm just going to give you the point so we all win. But a 15th prediction is the wonderful British Asparagus Festival will be even more successful than usual.
Wow.
I think when
How do you find these people, Elliot?
I saw her go on this morning and say these things, and as soon as I heard that, I thought her whole shtick is basically to promote the British Asparagus Festival.
It sounds like
I think that's what we should do, probably, to promote the pod. We could like dress up as Mystic Meg and talk to ducks in the Trent or something and go viral that way. But yeah, that's my fact within a fact. There is a British Asparagus Festival. Rant over.
Asparagus has just brought me on nicely too. I don't know if anyone saw my Facebook. I replied to someone on my Facebook yesterday saying that if Forest scored a goal away at City, I'd go vegan for a month. Well, I can confirm I'm not going vegan for a month.
Get on that tofu, mate.
This was a digital bet.
Go to the festival.
Saying asparagus did make me think of it, because I think asparagus is one thing that I probably could live on if I was actually vegan. So yeah.
I can't believe you've gone back on a bet, Lee.
A month's a long time, though, isn't it? Maybe I'll do it.
You could just eat pizza for the whole month and pasta.
Maybe I'll do it today. Although I've just had this protein shake, and I'm not entirely sure that's vegan friendly, so I might have ruined it already. So.
Very good. Fair enough. Thank you very much for joining us. Before I go, I do want to thank everyone that's got in touch, whether I know you or don't know you, regarding my personal circumstances with my wife passing away. So I do really thank you, everyone that's shown a lot of love and support. She'd really hate it because she was a very introvert person, didn't really like attention, but she absolutely deserved it. So for all that matters, I'm quite glad she got all the attention. But she's just not here to enjoy it. But she will be here somewhere enjoying it, hopefully. So no, thank you very much for all kind words and messages and everything. It does really mean a lot. So it goes to show there is some good in the world, although there is people that are trying to make it real miserable for everyone else's good time. So there is that. But thank you very much for joining us this morning. Hopefully everyone has a nice weekend, not looking at the football and everyone stressing out about FA Cup weekend and everything else. We'll catch you probably next week before Midtjylland. We might have Ryan back on, who came on, who's a journalist out there in Denmark. So probably talk to me. He'll probably be glowing about the game in the league phase when they beat us. So yeah, hopefully some positivity to talk about next week in Europe, and then obviously Fulham following Sunday. So until then, take care. Hope you all have a good weekend, and come on, you Reds.